TJ was named a Defensive Player of the Year finalist once again. No surprise by anybody, but the competition, I want to say, is fierce, and maybe more fierce than it's ever been for TJ Watt. Not saying that it's been more difficult or hasn't been more difficult. He has been faced with tasks that he couldn't even overcome, no matter how hard he played, cough, cough, last season. This year, it seems more like I've never seen a race, at least in the recent future, where it is just so up in the air. You honestly have no idea who's going to, which is fun. You know, you could go Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Everybody's got one side and they're kind of feeling that it's going to happen one way or another. This one is just straight. Anything could happen. I have no idea. Excited to see what does happen. His competition is the one and only Myles Garrett. Philadelphia Eagles linebacker Zach Bond, Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson, and Denver Broncos cornerback Patrick Surtain. TJ's a guy where you can make the argument for him even at the end. Even with the lack of sacks, he's somebody who, I mean, an entire offense has to focus on this guy. I think the Steelers' downfall certainly hurts his opportunity to walk away as Defensive Player of the Year this season. I think the fact that he didn't really do a ton in that time hurt his chances as Defensive Player of the Year. I also think the way other people ended the season may have hurt his Defensive Player of the Year odds. But that being said, I'm not out on TJ. I think there is very much so a chance that he walks away with his second Defensive Player of the Year award. I have a ranking. I'll break it down, then I'll ask you yours. If I had to guess who walks away with it this season, it is Patrick Surtain, because he's young, he's flashy, he hasn't gotten one yet, and he's a superstar in the NFL that, well, if you're a superstar in the NFL and you play defense, you have to get one. That's just what happens. If Micah Parsons played 16 games this season, he would be Defensive Player of the Year. Pat Surtain is my favorite for the award, followed by Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Zach Bond, and rounding out the list is Myles Garrett. Maybe Myles and Zach Bond change, but I think Zach Bond has been low-key an absolute monster this season. You have a rankings, a prediction on how this one turns out as well.
Yeah, I agree with you in the fact that this is as close as I think I've ever seen a race with this many potential candidates. Nobody really pulled away at the end of this. You have Trey Hendrickson, who did have that multi-sack performance in Week 18 to kind of solidify himself as the sack king this year. But when you look at Trey Hendrickson, is he going to get votes over guys like Myles Garrett, over T. Watt, even over Pat Surtain, who I think has a little bit more name recognition over a guy like Trey Hendrickson? So I think this is going to be really close. I agree with you. I think it's Surtain's Defensive Player of the Year award to lose. I would think that in the voting, though, Myles Garrett comes in as a close second. I just feel a lot of people, a lot of voters are going to look at that, especially considering he's one of the only of these five that have campaigned for it outwardly. I think
yes,
a lot of people simply sit there and say, yeah, he's probably higher on the list. So I think it's probably, in likelihood, Surtain, then Garrett, then Hendrickson, then Watt, and then Zach Bond.
Okay. I like that. To be honest, Trey Hendrickson is my should-be Defensive Player of the Year guy in the NFL this year. I think he was an absolute monster on an absolutely terrible defense. What do you give TJ's shots to actually pull this one off?
If we're going percentage-wise, I would still put it up around 35, because I think that name recognition is there, and I think a lot of people will look to the fact that he did get double-teamed and chipped and everything schemed against him, but he was still able to make a lot of impact plays, right? How many forced fumbles did he get? And of those forced fumbles, how many did the Steelers recover? Almost every single one of them. So I think that will play into his favor, and I think he will get some recognition, especially because I think some of the voters will think he probably should have gotten it last year. But I do think that it's great that we're still talking about him being top 5 in the NFL in Defensive Player of the Year rankings in a year that we are all consensus saying is a down season for TJ Watt.
Yeah, that's the craziest part, is you look at it and you go, in my eyes, TJ didn't have a good year. Like, this is TJ, where were you, man? Could have did a lot more. I think even he acknowledged he could have done a lot more. You're sitting here going, easy Defensive Player of the Year finalist, possibly favorite right up until the last 3 games of the season, where you're going, TJ's probably going to win this. And then you go, maybe not. Maybe not. I still think there's a chance. And I think if the dust settles and people are thinking, TJ is the guy, he could still end up being the guy in Pittsburgh. I think that's a real possibility. I would say 35 is a good number, 35-40% for TJ Watt to somehow pull this one off. It's a toss in the air. And just like you said, there are going to be people, there are going to be voters that are saying, it's a real big toss up and we definitely screwed TJ last season. Let's make sure. Yeah, exactly. It's an apology. Andrew says if the TJ wins the award, it's an apology for last year. And I agree. I think that's a possibility. All right, football fans, things are getting real. Whether your team has made it to the conference championship or not, there's still plenty of ways to enjoy the games. Get in on the action right now with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbooks. They're offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly by just betting $5. Don't let this slip away. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code ALLSteelers. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live in-game progress right as they are happening, making watching the games that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook.